And now, please welcome Mark Pugerude, GENBAND's President of Global Sales.
Welcome everybody to Perspectives 15. I really appreciate everybody coming here. Obviously, it's an action-packed week. And somebody told me a little bit about adult learning a long time ago. They said, listen, people can only hold their attention span for a certain period of time. So I'm going to do this talk a little bit, but every once in a while I'm going to stomp my foot. That's when you actually have to wake up and pay attention. So I'm actually going to give you a little bit of an ease into this speech so you can actually pace yourself, because this is a real marathon here. We do go through a lot of education here, a lot of information exchange, and it's kind of interesting to see how people absorb information. One of the ways I really enjoy working for GENBAND is working for a guy like David Walsh. Did David come? Oh, there he is right there. One of the great things I like about working for David is that he's a macro thinker. He thinks on the macro level, but then can apply it in the micro level. And that's, I think, what makes a great CEO, is somebody that can take big concepts and apply them in a way that you can actually make money, conduct commerce, and actually improve your business prospects. So that's one of the things I'd like to get through to you guys here. Is now I'm going to take one more level down to apply some of these macro trends and how we've put them together with GENBAND technology and working with our carrier customers and partners and some of our ecosystem partners here to actually put things together. So one of the things that happened, if you had a secret microphone in our marketing room and we were talking about this business and this whole conference, was maybe we should change the name. We've been doing perspectives for the last 3 or 4 years. Perspectives is a funny word. Perspective, what's your opinion? What's your perspective? Everyone's got a perspective. But right now, we've started to see some things that are different. One is things are changing, and you need to start making decisions. And these decisions are really quite impactful for your business and your company. And they're going to be made, and here's the harshest part, and this is the part that I think is the most important, so I'm almost stomping my foot here. This is the most important thing, is these decisions will be made without you, if you don't do them yourself. And so we started taking that approach, saying, like, we got to start making the decisions. We got to start driving the bus. And so our technology development efforts, our R&D efforts, our interactions with our customers are completely focused on helping those decisions be made and made quickly. So what are some of the things that are happening right now? Clearly, David, finished his speech with over the top, and I'm going to start talking a little bit about it. Those decisions are being made without you. If you're not making them now, if you're not coming up with an approach or a strategy on over the top, the way bandwidth is increasing over both wireless and wireline, over the top is becoming a much more prevalent way of doing business. If you're still holding on to maybe some TDM in your network, I can tell you again, another secret microphone in our conference room, we find out that the TDM network is increasingly shaky. And the people are either retiring or moving on, and the people that know those technologies now are no longer interested in being part of those networks. So suddenly you got yourself a staffing problem as well as a technology problem. And it's not getting any easier once you've even made that courageous decision to go all IP, and all suddenly now you're in an all IP world and it's moving a lot faster. And you've had this cadence of something that was a little bit more slower paced, and it takes a little bit more courage to move ahead and actually have the ability to roll out new services quickly and fast. It's very difficult. And then just to go ahead and put the foot right on the accelerator and to make it the most painful thing that you could possibly imagine, Webrtc comes charging right into the infrastructure. Before, you had very specific SIP engineers, people that were very dedicated to their craft, to be building high-quality networks with SIP protocol. Suddenly, you've got every HTML programmer out there, every web designer can now build a completely pervasive and contextual web communications platform that interfaces with your customers. So again, these decisions are being made, and they're being made quickly. What are the decisions you're going to make if you have a residential base? The growth of wireless is paramount. I find myself, not really even using my fixed line anymore. How can you actually take advantage of this network? I don't think the regulators are going to allow you to abandon that network. We're not seeing that, and I'm not seeing that in anywhere in the world, because there's a public safety issue. There's a desire for making sure that there's a ubiquitous service, especially in rural telecom. There's no way you can abandon this network. So how do you maximize your investment? What decisions are you going to make to add more utility to the home phone number, to give more tie-in to the mobile and the fixed world? And then there's always, how do I get more revenue opportunities? So what we're going to show you is that we think every time we go into our product development cycle, we think about how we can put products and services together to make that investment decision criteria a lot simpler for you, a lot easier. So one of the things that we're seeing right now for business decisions is that we have crossed one chasm that's quite important. The social issues of moving from the prem to the cloud are kind of behind us now. I would say 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, if you said, hey, I'm going to move all my communications right into the cloud, and somebody will take care of that, and I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, that used to give people real panic attacks. They didn't like that idea at all, because network engineers want to do one thing. They want to design networks. They want to build them. They want to make sure that they're rock solid for their environment. But now that the compute power is becoming so pervasive and the redundancy built into these data centers is so good, you're almost silly not to take advantage of those market dynamics and take advantage of the cloud. So the social issues have been moved away. And I think you can now see that cloud communication is going to be much more prevalent. But do you have the courage to spend on the cloud, to improve it, to actually build it into your business processes? That's the part I think that a lot of people are starting to really struggle with. You've got this cloud infrastructure. How do you tie it all in with your other infrastructure? You're used to having that all in the same logical domain. Now you don't. So it's really quite difficult. And then now, social media is, pervasive and everywhere we go. Customer support, customer service, it's all tied now to the cloud offering. And then how do you tie that back into your own infrastructure? These are really tough decisions, but it's happening, and it's happening without you. And the last one that I'd say a decision that really needs to be made that I thought was really stunning, and I think Wall Street thought it was stunning as well, when Facebook paid $19 billion for WhatsApp. So for 800,000 users, that came out to about $25,000 per user. That is a tremendous amount of value that was created for those investors and those people. Those customers might even be on your network. You might have created that customer ability to actually tap into that application, and you made zero. You made zero. We don't want to be a part of the zero plan anymore. We want to make sure we help people collaborate in a way where you can actually participate in that value creation. I think that's really an important distinction, is that value creation before has been left in different domains. We have a lot of cable companies that are our customers, and the cable industry is quite different. Cable actually collaborates much better together because they're not really competitors. So one cable company might talk to another cable company, and they have a lot of similar practices, and they tend to work very collaboratively together. Most of the other carriers, I would say, do not, because they compete against each other. So there's always this friction between them. So our goal, we think, is, and we'll go through this a little bit more, but over the top is a way now for the carriers to actually collaborate with each other in a way that's helpful, and that creates and keeps the value. The value creation keeps it into your pocket versus giving it to somebody else. So I say this this is a foot stomper. This is the part where you've got to pay attention. Do you hear that sucking sound? What I mean is that those minutes for Webrtc are getting pulled right out of your network. And if you don't have a plan about how to address that market dynamic of Webrtc traffic, you will lose those minutes to somebody else. And some of those companies that are out there, they're cloud-based companies. They're right underneath your nose. Skype, obviously, is probably the most famous. Minutes of use are actually going up. When you take a look at the whole market dynamics, minutes of use are going up. Twilio, Nexmo, and Cisco just bought Tropo. These are companies that are basically trying to take a new domain of Webrtc and over-the-top type communications and stealing it from other carriers. So, I went to a carrier customer, and he was like, well, we're like interfacing with Twilio. I said, let me prep you on something. That's like being a chicken in a hen house. And there's a fox sitting right at the door, and you say, hey, I'm going to let the fox in, so he's going to eat the other chickens, and he won't eat me. That's not very likely, because once the fox gets done eating all the other chickens, guess what? They're going to come looking for you. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to build a solution. We wanted to build a platform that actually enables you to be a part of the solution, not just tangential to the solution, but you're actually part of it. So one of the ways we've done that, and David addressed it, which was Candy. He said it right at the end, and I think it's important to understand. When you think about Candy, what is it exactly? It's a platform, it's a core, it's an engine for communications. But most importantly, it's the complete intellectual property. Every feature ever developed in the entire phone network ever is all put together in one cloud with a software wrapper around it, where you now, based on your capabilities as a customer, whether you want to take advantage of predefined widgets and apps, or you want to be able to build your own, to build a customized communications platform. This way, you can take advantage of all those decision-making criteria that are out there that are pushing you towards those cloud-based communications. Some of the use cases are pretty interesting, but we're seeing them right now everywhere around the world. So this is a pervasive trend. This is unquestionable. That all the carriers right now are trying to figure out a way how to keep that sucking sound, keep that sucking sound from taking your minutes away and create your own sucking sound for somebody else, so they're not taking away your minutes. The key one really is having an over-the-top service that enables you to actually customize for every environment. David gave you 7 different applications, including exercise, fitness, healthcare. That means there's literally tens of thousands of them, and we can't even predict them all. But the interesting and most bold thing that I can tell you is that if you make it easy from a developer's perspective on one side and cheap, you can then promote a case where they can take lots of chances. You can take lots of opportunities to try and fail, and it won't cost you a lot of money because you can then address several different markets. So many times people have tried to do vertical marketing and communications. It's so difficult because the cost was heavy. You had to be very client specific. You had to build special software just for operating systems, just for devices, and it was very, very difficult to try and fail. But with Webrtc now, you're able to take something that is very rich communications infrastructure. You can have all the creativity of a web designer and enable that website or that browser interface into something very customizable for a very particular customer, and take advantage of all that cloud-based communications. As you look at this network slide, you can see here there's something that's really important. So Candy sits at the core, and it's got all these abilities of building, rating. You can go to hard phones, soft phones, anything that's collaboration. You've got every kind of vertical market you could possibly think of, and because it's browser-based, it fits across every device. But there's one thing that's important, and this is the thing that separates GENBAND from everybody else in this market. This is only an unfinished good, and it's only finished. It's a finished service when the carrier becomes a participant in this and delivers the final product with the phone number, the billing relationship, the actual connection to the customer itself. So that's different. We are not doing this as a way of stealing those minutes away. We are helping you get those minutes back and take them back from the guys that are trying to take them from you. So it's important to note that not everybody is a great programmer, not everybody is good at this, but we've done some of the work for you. And the fact is, it's a very bold statement to say this, but HTML5 now gives you millions of web developers that are capable of developing those kind of communications platforms, and then enabling you to have a whole network of developers to go and enhance your product offering. David talked a little bit, so I'm only going to go through this really quickly here because the Fring Alliance, you're going to hear a lot about it. Roy's going to be up here as well. But the most important thing is this is the example of having a finished good sitting on top of Candy. So think about this. If Fring is our finished good sitting on top of Candy, that means you can actually have derivative products that are just like this, that are specific for a healthcare application, specific, could be even just for one customer. One customer could be completely, and still make you a tremendous amount of money and have a stickiness where that customer may never leave. So that's really the neat business opportunity I think that we present ourselves with this, with the Fring and the Fring Alliance. And then the whole notion that you could create this turnkey system sitting on top of Candy, and suddenly you have the makings of not only a brand new service, but something that's a derivative product that you could do new things with. One of the key ones that we've really focused in on is what we call new via. This is new via the cloud. This is our cloud UC offering. Again, this is a carrier-grade class of service. It is for all sizes and scopes of business. It's a common, we're obviously one of the market leaders in unified communications and application servers, but this now has been also transformed, if you will. We've taken that extra step to put Nuvia into the Candy platform. So now you're sitting there being able to take a TDM business customer, migrating them gracefully at their pace, at their cadence, to get them onto an IP-enabled network. This is probably the best business opportunity. If you're a small, medium-sized business out there, this is the best and easiest opportunity for you to convert your base on an as-needed basis. Take advantage of smartphones, take advantage of Webrtc, and only buy the things you really need. This has the ability really to be quite disruptive for the rest of the market. Why give money to a Cisco handset? It's a phone that's stranded on the desk. It's got no utility, especially if you find yourself where you're in an emergency situation, you can't get into the office, you want to be a nomadic user or remote user, you have no way of taking advantage of that. Plus the added uses you can imagine. The web portals themselves and the ability now to have more moves, adds, and changes is dramatically better. As you start to realize that cloud communications is prevalent and there's going to be certain interfaces that you're going to have as a network operator. You cannot just build this network, hope it works, and then interface with your network. You still have to have some adjudication points, some parts of the network that actually transverse your network from one domain to another. You need security, and you need it in scale. So the IP network is growing tremendously, and broadband is pervasive. What that also means is that video and high definition voice are all quite regular occurrences, as well as collaboration. I just found out yesterday, I was talking to a guy on the golf course, I did 3 video searches in the morning yesterday. I looked up a YouTube video that somebody had sent me. I did a review session of one of these video sessions here, and then somebody sent me a web link that had a video connection in it. I would say just in one morning, I had 3 video transmissions. Not to say I wasn't even in the office when we do regular conference calls with collaboration. So you need to start thinking about how you're going to scale up and secure your network against this onslaught of a bigger use of data. Obviously, one of the things we'll be announcing today, and John McCready and others will be talking about this, is our next generation session border controller. We've been working on this product for quite some time. And not only is it market leading with the highest scale and the highest performance, but it helps you build that new core. By separating the signaling and the media, most of the customers that we've seen now actually have large data centers. This is how they actually promote their business. They build large data centers, get a little critical mass, and they distribute the signaling. And nobody else had built a product that actually fit that kind of model. So we started going through the machinations, and one thing we learned is that actually is the lead precursor. When you separate the brain and the brawn on the SBC, signaling is the brain, the media is the brawn. When you separate that, you also learn things about network function virtualization and software-defined networks, because you're actually taking the brain power of the systems and starting to operate those in a completely different environment. So as you're going to see, this is a high-scale performance system, and we're going to continue to actually push the envelope, because we need to actually be preparing you. Again, these decisions will be made with or without you, but we're actually going to start making these decisions that help you form the network function virtualization core that you need now to take advantage of it. Now, it's always interesting. I always find that in a customer engagement when we're trying to have a new network build or something like that, we always have the highest degree of success when we sit in the room and we have an alignment of interests. When the alignment of interests match, that sales process and that network implementation goes incredibly fast, and it's very precise, and everyone comes away with that with good feelings. For us, network function virtualization is something that's important to us. So I think our alignment of interests is important, because the hardware is a necessary evil. We don't really necessarily, we're not hardware developers, we're software developers. We actually build software, but we need some place to run the software. So network function virtualization is actually very good for us as a company, because we can help you separate from that hardware dependency as well. What we want you to do also is to have more rapid adoption of technology. So having network function virtualization in there means you can try things quicker, put them in the network faster, make sure they're aligned. And so that's where our investment philosophy and our whole thesis on network function virtualization, that it's good for the industry, it's good for our company, and it's good for your company, so we want to take advantage of that. We start with the software and the blade, and we've had more experience on that than almost anybody else. We've been building a software-based SBC for 12 years. We've been doing the same thing on application server and IMS architectures. So clearly, having this, it's a very short walk for us. And so now what we're seeing is the market is defining itself with the orchestrator. Who's going to be the orchestrator? Who's going to actually provide that? And we've been working with all the top companies around the world to make sure that we're a participant and help carriers adopt this really quickly. So as we see network function virtualization also settling some very big problems. I mean, you get out of the proprietary hardware business, that'll help everybody breathe a sigh of relief because there's no reason to waste money on proprietary hardware. The space, the power, the capital investment, but most importantly, it's the cadence and the pace at which you then upgrade the network. You can now have the ability to be able to upgrade the network in a way that's to your liking, and you're not like staggering it with multiple different devices and multiple different technologies all through there. That makes it infinitely more complex. So one of our goals is, and again, this is more of a foot stomper right here and paying attention, is that NFV not only is an alignment of interests, but it actually ease of use. That's why we are completely dedicated towards building our entire ecosystem and all of our software into an NFV type architecture. So I'm going to wrap up with a couple of really interesting case studies here, and this will I say this. There's nothing more terrifying than actually getting all your customers and all your people all in the same room, and then they can talk about you. I could say the only thing that would be more terrifying is like if you were married and divorced and you had your wife, your ex-wife, your accountants, and your lawyers all in the same room, and you let them talk about you behind your back. That'd be the only thing more terrifying than this. But I trust that you guys are going to talk to each other, you're going to learn, and that's the whole thing about what we're trying to do here. It's about transparency, it's about getting better, it's about being a better vendor for you. And one of the ways we can do that is always to have use case studies and show you like, hey, we've been there, we've done that, and we can do that again for you, and sometimes we've done it for some really big and very discerning buyers, so it gives you a little bit of confidence. But one of the key ones is Telekom Austria, where you got a country here and you got a company that basically made a decision. We're immediately exiting the TDM business. And as they did that, they had massive savings, 1,000 TDM central offices down to 9 geo-redundant C20s. So you're able to actually have the entire country serviced with a very small amount of footprint, but the intellectual property, all the power of that switching infrastructure is all, and that IMS infrastructure is all in just a few large data centers. So it actually fits into the core of what we talked about, which is the large high-scale data centers with a distributed architecture. Another one that's great, and we had dinner with these guys. This is this Graceful migration. CIBC is one of the largest banks in Canada. They had a huge install base of a legacy Nortel enterprise system, and they were in a real pickle. They had to upgrade this system. They had to upgrade the network, and they didn't know quite how to take the risk on having a full forklift upgrade, bringing in a whole new vendor. What GENBAND and Bell Canada were able to do is actually work together and provide a solution where CIBC could actually, what I continue to call graceful migration. Some of the phones, the legacy phones, they just left in place. The brand new phones, some of the new, the executive wing, they got the new shiny, brand new Polycom phones and the new devices. But then they were also able to take advantage of all the other features of having a completely transparent voice over IP infrastructure, where it's part of it's cloud-based, it's all completely geo-redundant, and it's able to them to start thinking about how they can migrate the rest of the network, including all the branch offices, out to new business opportunities. So this has saved them a tremendous amount of money. It's a tremendous relief on the infrastructure and the IT staff. Everything looks like it used to, so it operates much like the old network, except for you can take advantage of all the new dynamics with IP. One of the last ones here, and it's a great use case, which is UC Davis. Again, cloud-based communications enables you to take advantage of something that a lot of the times you couldn't before, which is migrating old systems, like old voicemail systems, to the cloud. Now, a lot of people don't want to spend money on voicemail anymore, but the fact is, if it's cloud-based and you pay as you go and you know exactly how to transform it, it's actually quite effective. You could make a business decision right now for probably the cost of your maintenance on your old system. You could actually buy a cloud-based system right now, and you could immediately save your business money or your institution money. And that's one of the ways that UC Davis took advantage of our cloud-based Nuvia offering. And they're one of our, probably most prolific Nuvia users in the network right now today. And then a nice one, which is always, everyone likes to hear a brand name and people that are dedicated towards unified communications, but the whole network restaurant chain of Noodles and Shoney's and Shake Shack, these are all companies now that have migrated their technologies over to cloud-based communications. And these are mission critical kind of applications. These are retail organizations. These are companies that basically depend on communications. And for us to be able to be a part of that is it's a great offering, but it also tells you that people are having more and more courage in high stakes business applications to go ahead and move to all cloud-based communications. One of the last press releases we did right here, and it's an interesting one, and it sounds odd, but it's Vodafone Fiji. Now, it's a small network, but when you think about it, it's an entire country. It needs to be redundant. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It needs to have redundancy built in, and it needs to have the capabilities of handling both healthcare, hospitals, finance. There's some government institutions, and having the ability to take over the entire use case or the entire island nation and be able to satisfy all the demands of those users on a single cloud platform is a testament to the fact that this cloud offering is all the intellectual property of the entire phone network in one instance. So it's a fantastic business opportunity. It shows you that you can keep that mindset of everything that's in the phone company I can do with a cloud-based offering. Which wraps it up in before I turn it over to Paul, the way we start to view our business now. And this is why you'll start to see a different cadence from the sales folks at GENBAND with you and your engagement, is that everything for us is all about the software, how we can interface with your customers, how we can make it easier for you to do it. And one of our guys put this slide together, and really, I think it really tells a lot. It's enhance, extend, and overlay. Enhance, extend, and overlay. So when you think about your current infrastructure, you want to enhance it. You've got high definition voice interconnect, the ability to interwork with RCS and other kind of applications. Clearly extending, being able to do voice over Wi-Fi roaming, which we'll talk a little bit about. You'll hear on our Wi-Fi offload products. And then obviously all the cloud-based communications on the overlay. You've now built the top, you're now extending it out to all your users, and now you have the complete overlay for the rest of the network. So we're really encouraged to do all the learning for the workshops here today. Challenge your salespeople, challenge your sales engineers, make sure they know all your intricacies and make sure they understand how you want to apply, or let them talk to you a little bit about how they want to apply Candy right to your new offering. So we ask, and I finish up here, don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. We are here to help. This is why we spend the money to bring all you here. We love that you dedicate your time to us, and I really appreciate it, and thank you very much. Have a good morning.